Once upon a time, business as usual was often good enough. No more. Where we are going, good enough is dead. In a world where everything is connected, where everything is equally excellent, where performance is reaching perfection, there's only one space left to innovate in: you. Right now, you are a central point in the raging tornado of change fueled by digitization, mobilization, augmentation, disintermediation, automation. Well, the list goes on. Science fiction is becoming science fact. Think about self-driving cars or computers that can learn and think. The way we work will never be the same. The skills we need will be dramatically different. Winning or losing are now happening faster than ever before. So what's your response? How will you discover new opportunities in one of the most transformational times in human history? Are you driving change, or are you being driven by it? Disruption has become the new normal. With change, it's always gradually, then suddenly, well, things really have stopped happening gradually. This change is exponential. Everything that used to be dumb and disconnected is now wired and intelligent. Cars, cities, ports, farms, even our bodies will be wired with sensors and will talk to each other. These game changers are also combinatorial. They amplify each other, creating a perfect storm of change. Quantum computing fuels big data. The Internet of Things fuels artificial intelligence and deep learning, which fuels robotics. However, anything that cannot be digitized or automated will become extremely valuable. Human-only traits such as creativity, imagination, intuition, emotion, and ethics will be even more important in the future, because machines are very good at simulating, but not at being. Yes, robots and software will do some of our work, but this will allow us to focus on things that cannot be automated. To imagine change squared, you've got to start engaging more with what might be, not just with what is. Immerse yourself in the immediate future, 5 to 7 years out from today. We need to go beyond technology and data to reach human insights and wisdom. Technology represents the how of change, but humans represent the why. The future is about holistic business models. The opportunity is to be liquid, to learn just in time, not just in case, not single improvements, but complete transformations, not individual systems, but new ecosystems. Humanity is where true and lasting value is created. We will engage, relate, and buy things because of the experiences they provide, because of their transformative power. The future doesn't just happen. The future gets happened. The new way to work is to embrace technology, but not to become it. The future is in technology, yet the bigger future lies in transcending it. Let's live and lead from here.
Good morning, everyone. So we are welcoming you to this webinar on 21st century learning using G Suite. Of course, we'd want to greet everyone a very good morning, and we hope that you would learn something from today's webinar. Now, let me introduce you to our facilitator for today. Our facilitator for today is Ms. Rowie Matty. Ms. Matty has been in the field of education for more than 20 years. And she has been managing Sacred Heart School, which her mother founded 50 years ago, and has been pioneering math and English enrichment programs in the country. In 2005, she started her own franchise of Galileo Enrichment Learning Program Systems. Her vision is to nurture the love for learning in children and see more children excel in school and develop their potential. So let's all welcome Ms. Rowie Matty, who would help us in facilitating today's webinar. Hi, Ms. Rowie. Good morning. Good morning, Ms. Rowie.
Good morning, Camille. Good morning, everyone. I think it's better to start with a short prayer. Let's put let's put ourselves in the holy presence of the Lord. Our Father, who art in heaven, holy be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread.
Forgive us our sins as we forgive those
who sin against us. Do not bring us to the test, but deliver us from evil. So, good morning, co-educators. Good morning, co-administrators. Thank you for inviting us today. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I attended a seminar with which was organized by Miss Josie Cartagena with the private schools in Malabon. And during the Q&A, I realized that a lot of schools in Malabon are still preparing and still looking for the best option for the new normal for this school year. So I asked them and I offered if they wanted to have a seminar, have a webinar on Google Classrooms and Google Suite, and a lot of them really wanted it. So we arranged it together with QSR. So today we're here to talk to you about Google Suite and how it can help you. It's a good platform for education for the new normal. So we hope that you learn a lot from this. So welcome to this seminar on 21st century learning using G Suites. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rowie. Now let's go into the introduction of our first speaker for today.
So let me introduce our speaker for today. Our first speaker is Ms. Almond Aguila. Almond Pilar N. Aguila has an interdisciplinary PhD in secondary education and communications and technology from the University of Alberta in Canada. As a PhD student, she was an educational technology mentor at the UNA's Faculty of Education Computer Lab and a teaching assistant in her supervisor's online courses. From 2015 to 2019, Dr. Aguila was the e-learning specialist for ADB eLearn, the external e-learning platform of the Asian Development Bank. She has done e-learning through Moodle, Blackboard, Illuminate, and Google Sites. She's currently a senior project coordinator at ADB. So let's all welcome Ms. Almond Aguila.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Ms. Rowie. Thank you. I'd have to say I'm very nervous. It's the first time that I'm actually talking in a webinar. I've attended several webinars during this entire lockdown. So at this point, I'd like to begin with a short reflection. So I want to actually feel how you're feeling right now during this time that it's so uncertain for us all. So can we have the first slide, please? So let's begin. So I'm hoping that you can participate so we can make this more interactive for you. So let's do a quick reflection on your comment box. Please type what you think or feel about teaching and learning in the time of COVID-19. I know that as teachers and as students and as parents, if there are parents out there, you have had a slight taste of how it's going to be like for the coming school year. In the past months, you have gone through changes in the way your children or your students or you have had to learn. So maybe we can have Miss Rowie and Miss Josie help me with some comments. Miss Josie, maybe you can share with us what you have heard from some teachers that you've talked to regarding this time of uncertainty.
Okay. Actually, the very first thing that all of us are worried, most especially the teachers, is how do we do online learning? This is new to all of us, especially with us who are in the K-6 program. We've tried it before, but it's a totally different thing now because there is no face-to-face instruction, and that all of us will have to think of what platform to use to prepare our modules, to prepare our students, to our parents to address their concerns, plus the fact that DepEd kept on issuing guidelines and DepEd orders that we think are too much for us. So it's really confusing all of us now.
Okay. Miss Rowie, is there anything you'd like to also?
I think a lot are really worried because this really came as a surprise. We're all, when they announced COVID in January, the schools were looking forward to graduation, to the summer program, and we were thinking that the next year will just be the same. But when this hit us, in the beginning, we were all hoping it will end soon, but it looked like it will not. So we weren't able to offer summer programs anymore. And then we were waiting for directions from the DepEd, but it never came because maybe they were also figuring out what to do. So now classes will start on August.
Yeah.
And still a lot of people don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So, and from what I know, a lot of schools have closed. And the schools that are continuing next year will have very few students. If they're lucky, if they have half of their population from last year. So a lot of teachers are also worried if they will still have jobs.
Okay. So I'm glad to hear from both of you. I'm only assuming that teachers are actually overwhelmed at this time, not knowing what to do. My background in e-learning, I hope I can share what I learned with all of you because I consider teachers, I'm a teacher as well, kaya lang university level. I did teach very shortly sa high school. But my heart for teachers, they have a soft spot in my heart kasi ako din teacher. So I consider if the nurses and doctors were answering a call of duty, tayo din. We're the next in line. We have to, I don't want to call it the new normal because 21st century learning has been around for a long time. It's actually quite delayed. I finished my PhD in 2014. 2010, nagsisimula na akong mag-aral about e-learning. And we're only applying the concepts now. And I recognize how overwhelming and how teachers don't know what to do. So I'm hoping that my presentation will give you something to think about, to reflect on throughout, to guide you and to give you the courage to create your own courses. Because at the end of the day, teachers tayo lahat. It's a challenge that we have to face. And dito na magkakasubukan. Sino ba talaga ang tunay na teacher? Yun. So forget about the technology. The technology is always secondary. It's actually the teachers. So can I have, thank you, Miss Rowie and Miss Josie. I hope you continue to watch and I'm going to, I think, see you later on. Can we bring up the next slide? So this is just a reminder to teachers that despite the fact that we are no longer seeing our students are part of this landscape. So let's not focus on the content or the course alone, but also focus our eyes on the children. So this is artwork created by my little nephew who's 6 years old. So on his own, without even being prompted, he decided that he wanted to come up with an antidote for COVID. So a potion. So I begin my presentation by reminding you that really, what are we doing this for? We're doing it for our students. So parang the detachment of a computer screen should not disconnect you from your students. In fact, you should find better ways to connect to them. Okay, so let's begin. So the first slide, please. The next slide. So when you were saying that you don't know where to start, the problem is it's more than just a change of format. It's not a matter of digitizing a book and uploading it online. That's already e-learning. That's not e-learning. It needs to undergo a transformation. I've read the policies that Miss Josie referred to, and I've been nodding my head looking at all these terms from 21st century learning that I studied when I was abroad. But the only problem is that I don't know if the teachers have been prepared. Because all of us, even me, hindi ako nakawala doon, I am a product of 20th century education. I'm just lucky because I was able to study abroad where 21st century learning was being applied. So let's go through these two things that we need to take to pay attention to. So next slide, please. So when this moment that we are being challenged with requires a paradigm shift. Hindi lang yan merely, wala tayo sa classroom, so we'll use the internet or whatever technologies to reach out to our students. The way we interacted with our students, the way we taught in the classroom, that's gone. We're now stepping into the 21st century. So we are forced by the situation, and I'm sure that all of you can do it. It's just a matter of changing your perspective, opening your eyes, opening your mind to the changes that have happened to the world in the last couple of decades in the last almost 2 decades na hindi tayo nakikinig. So next slide, please. So for this presentation, I'm going to just focus on 2. I don't want to take up too much time from you learning about Google Suites, the G Suite. So I want to draw your attention on how your views about learning and technology should change. It's a requirement. You need to be able to create effective, practical, and successful curriculum for your students today. Next slide, please. So let's start with learning. So rethinking learning means stepping out of the 20th century and stepping into the 21st century. So this is in everything that I'm going to talk about. It's actually in the policies sent to you by DepEd. I won't speak for DepEd, but this is exactly what I learned when I was in Canada. And I'm hoping that once you are prepared, you can actually implement it. Remember that the internet, Google is your friend. YouTube is your friend. If you don't know the information is out there for you to reach for. So in 20th century learning, it's teacher-centered. Yung lecture, it's content-driven. So lahat coming from books. This is how we were taught, di ba? When you enter a classroom, there's a teacher's table, there's either a blackboard or a whiteboard. Ngayon may screen na. And then all the students' chairs are individual. They don't come together. They're individually located and they're facing front. Actually, the minute I enter a classroom, alam ko na kung anong klaseng teaching yung ginagawa. Based on the space, how the space is designed, who has the power. In the 20th century, ang power nasa teacher. In the 21st century, if you look at the next picture, it's student-oriented. It's student-centered. It's active. You can see that students are seated in pods where they're seated together. Kasi next slide, please. Next slide, please. So for 20th century learning, there are the 4 C's: critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. These are what drive 21st century learning. Next slide, please. So the pedagogical approaches are experiential learning, collaborative, interdisciplinary, active learning, inquiry-based. I won't go into the very details kasi mababasa nyo to dun sa actual policy. I think it's in section 13. Nando, nakadefine lahat yan. If you don't understand these big concepts, like I said, please search the internet. You can go to my favorite site, and I tip my hat off to Google, is Google Scholar. That's actually where I get my material for my students. Next slide, please. So in 21st century learning, you have to remember that pedagogy is about relationship. It's your relationship with your students. This is what I learned in the degree that I got. Parang before I left, really, my relationship was more with the content than with my students. Next slide, please. So what do I mean about pedagogy being relationship? So in 20th century pedagogy, the teacher is considered the expert. Kaya nga siya nasa harap ng room, she's the one in front, she's standing, nakaupo yung mga estudyante niya, she's talking, or he's talking. And all the students are novices. Wala silang alam. Parang kumbaga, it's 20th century understanding of education, which can be traced back to the industrial age, which is why we call our, diba, batches. Parang we input, output. Papasok sila ng walang laman ng utak nila, paglabas nila meron na. So whatever the transfer of knowledge, 21st century learning is different. Next slide, please. So in the 21st century, si teacher is not the only expert in the room. I remember as a PhD student, this was what was impressed upon us. That yes, you have your expertise, but do not deny that the students also know a lot. So you as a teacher play different roles now. In fact, you should also consider yourself a learner. Kasi in 21st century learning, it's lifelong learning. Hindi natatapos. Diba? Kaya nga paulit-ulit natin. And this is what knowledge is about. Diba? Parang knowledge is always revised. It's dynamic because of research. So even medicine is changing, especially now with COVID-19. Next slide, please. I'm sorry I'm doing this very quickly because I want to give you time to ask questions. There are big concepts that need to be broken down, but I don't want to take away the time from you learning about G Suites. But I'm just giving you points of reflection to understand what the training, how you can use the training in designing your courses. So in 20th century learning, the teacher is an innovator, a mentor, a motivator, an illuminator, a catalyst, and more importantly, a curator of knowledge. So what do I mean? Information is out there. Your students can access information with their fingertips. Alam naman natin yan eh, di ba? So, ang role natin is no longer to tell them what, but to teach them how and why. What is knowledge? What is most important to learn? So I'll give you an example. The 2 videos that we showed in the beginning of this webinar, if you were able to catch them, You can replay them later after this is over if you haven't. I've used them in my classes. And as you know, they're YouTube videos. And you know that on YouTube, sobrang daming videos. In the same way that in Google Scholar, in Google, there are so many materials. So as a curator of knowledge, I identify what materials are important. I bring them together. I place them under themes so that my students will understand. Because I cannot cover everything. I suppose at this point you also understand that. So I give them that. So the focus really is no longer, although the what is important, but it's the essence of it. Why is it important to know? How can I know more? What are the important sources of information on the internet? Because when you talk about knowledge, it's information that is processed. Kumbaga may analysis ka na of information. It's not just remembering, or this is the temperature of the sun. That's not enough. We need to provide students the big ideas, the grand understandings of our discipline. And we need to be interdisciplinary as well. We need to use collaboration, not just for our students, but for ourselves. So seek out other teachers, ask for help, share your materials. This is what the 21st century is about. So you teach others, they teach you as well. Next slide, please. So now let's go to the next section. So I asked you to, I was telling you, I was provoking you to change your perspective about two things. The first was learning, which I covered, and the next thing is technology. So what is technology? Next slide, please. So I don't want to focus only on e-learning, although that is my specialization, because I know that for some schools, it may not be possible to implement e-learning for varied reasons. Baka yung students you don't have good access to the internet, or they don't have gadgets, or the teachers are not equipped. So what is technology? So technology comes from the root word techne. It's Greek, which means technique. And technology, the reason why I'm bringing this up is that technology is a concept that is so complex that is often simplified in practical usage, in the way we understand technology, in the same way that before my PhD, ganun din ako makaintindi. Next slide, please. So technology is both device, or the tool, and the technique and method. So what do I mean? So when I talk about the computer, kasi when I ask people to give me examples of technology, right away, tataas nila primarily yung cellphone or iPad nila, yung kanilang computer. Number one misconception that it is just the tool. It's not. Kasi the tool comes with it a technique, a method of doing something. So next slide, please. Are we good for time? Okay. So when we think of technology, we think of mastery. I'm sorry, it doesn't appear to come out well. Parang hindi maganda lumalabas yung slides ko. Pero the first word in each line is mastery. So to us, kasi diba, technology means technique, the study of a technique or method. So sa atin, because of our understanding of technology, and I suppose what we see on popular media, when we talk about technology, pinapakita, even when you go to Google Images, sorry na lang kay Google, pero yun lumalabas eh. Pag tinype mo yung technology, lumalabas lahat ng mga gadgets, which is what we understand of technology. So our understanding of technology is the mastery of just the device, learning how to use something. It's just the hardware. Or in this case, if we talk about educational technology, kasi hindi lang naman internet ang pwede natin gamitin. We can use an interactive whiteboard. We can use slides, Google Slides, or Google Drive, or Google Docs for it as well. Next slide. So I want to draw your attention on what or how we should think of technology. It's two parts. So yung second part ang nalilimutan natin, the most important part, the method part. So technology is the mastery of both the device and the method. If we want to talk about the computer, it's the hardware and the software. For educational technology, it would be the tool and the curriculum. So if you talk about any educational technology, curriculum is part of the technology that you want to use. Dun kayo magko-contribute. Next slide, please. So I'd like to impress upon you the idea that technology is not neutral. So there's a philosopher, one of my favorite philosophers. His name is Albert Borgman. Sabi niya, he coined the term device paradigm. So each device has its own paradigm. Para siyang may code, may hidden may hidden structure, may mga unspoken rules. Just like Facebook, di ba? Nobody teaches us how to do Facebook. We just learn as we go. And there are hidden things that we don't know about that you should be aware of when you use technology. Hindi lang siya walang value. May value siyang dinadala. May karga siya. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So, when I talk about values, I can also talk about advantages and disadvantages. I'm often asked, kasi nga technology ang aking expertise as well, if technology is good or bad. Ganon. Parang black and white. It's not there. It's always a combination. They fold into each other. So as much as technology fulfills our needs, new needs are created. And these needs can't be gratified. Parang kailangan more and more of it. Tapos, di ba, an advantage of technology, it simplifies things that we need to do. Yung parang yung tasks that we need to do are simplified. But by simplifying, sabi nga ni Albert Borgman, we give up certain things. Things of greater value. Things that create understanding. So, next, the last one, sorry, can I go back? Sorry, I missed the last one. And importantly, it affords us control. We're able to take control of something. Unfortunately, it can also mean insidiously you're giving up control. Quickly, I don't know if we have time. Maybe another session. Next slide. I wanted to share an anecdote, but this is what I want to drive, the point that I want to drive. If you're apprehensive about these new forms of learning, remember this. E-learning, electronic learning, and distance learning, the electronic and the distance words, they're just adjectives. The most important thing is still the learning. Your contribution is still the biggest contribution. So the use of educational technology should always lead to learning. So I'd like you to come into the next part of the session understanding that. Google will provide you ways to reach out to your students to make it easy to do things, but it doesn't mean that you will use all technologies. Next slide, please. We're nearing the end. So according to Douglas Rushkoff, he's a media theorist. Favorite ko siya. He's the new Marshall McLuhan, if you know Marshall McLuhan. Marshall McLuhan was the one who coined the term global village. So according to him, our fear of technology is really a fear of empowerment. We now have the ability to design the reality we live in, and we have to step up to the occasion. So I have great trust in the teachers, especially Filipino teachers. We are ingenious in the way we're able to engage our students. So just because a technology is available does not mean you will use it. You always have to remember what your objective is, who your students are. And then that's how you choose to use certain technologies. Next slide, please. That's the last slide. We're moving into an era when we will define ourselves more by the technologies we refuse than the ones we accept. So hopefully, part of your reflection would be recognizing that the choice of the technology should not lie in the technology itself. It has to be connected to what you want to do for learning, your students. So parang don't choose a technology just because it's popular, just because it's expensive. It's expensive, therefore it has all the bells and whistles. But that's not necessary. It's always a question of what will it teach my students? Will it teach them what I need them to know? Okay, that's it. Next slide, please. So, can I invite, is it Miss Rowie? Yes. So now I'd like to hear from you because I brought up some big concepts. And I want to hear from teachers. If you need any guidance on any practical advice, because I don't want this to be just para a matter of me naming certain concepts that don't make sense. So please write in your comment section, in YouTube as you're watching this, if you have any practical questions about curriculum, about planning your courses, and how to decide on what technologies to use. So we can give you some pointers as well. Ms. Rowie, your
Miss
microphone.
Miss Almond, thank you very much. Your talk made it sound that it's doable. Because
Yeah.
a lot of people are really worried. But listening to you, I learned so much. It's doable. It's really just remembering that you're a teacher.
Oo.
Diba?
At saka remember, di ba dun sa original video, I don't think you were able to watch it, but the question was, are you mastering technology or are you becoming it? I'll give you an example. I'm hoping people are commenting or thinking of questions as I go. When I was a younger teacher, I wasn't that young, but I wasn't so adept at using technology. So when I was a new teacher, I was very apprehensive because I don't have educational background. I was hired to teach because of my training in journalism. Nagturo ako ng journalism in a private school. Nakakahiya. In a private college. Tapos, nung time na yon, ang perception ko of Google Slides, presentation slides, was that I was going to put all my content on my slides. And I see people do the same. I hope you've also paid attention to my presentation slides, how different it is from usual presentation slides. So lahat ng text nandun. So one day, I came to class and I mentioned to my students this particular book that piqued their interest. The presentation slide was on the screen. They were, as usual, copying notes, and I was talking. And I shared with them this experience about a certain book, and it piqued their interest. So much so that I had a brilliant idea because I lived very close to the school where I was teaching. So I said, kukunin ko yung libro. So I physically left my students. Sabi ko, anyway, my presentation slides are there. Just keep moving the slides, keep copying, and I will be right back. So I left the room. And, it didn't dawn on me how stupid that was. If teachers are apprehensive about being obsolete by technology, you can't be if you take control of the technology. So in that way, I gave my power to the presentation slides. Kasi nilagay ko na lahat eh. Kumbaga, I'm not necessary. So if you look at my presentation today and you look at it without me talking, it won't make sense. Some slides may make sense, but much of it is me. The technology is just giving me support, drawing attention to certain things, making you parang pay attention to certain words. Minsan it's a visual. So yeah. Anyway, that's my take on technology.
So there's a comment here.
Hindi, that's pretty yay na. Technology, pedagogy first. Yes, very good. Very good. That's a big idea. That's what I mean about big ideas. So they can be transferred. So they're essential understanding. They're enduring understanding. See Higgins to, if you know Higgins, my supervisor, who was my mentor, used Higgins. So Higgins instruction, learning by design.
Mm-hmm.
He has a lot of YouTube videos. So don't be afraid to use YouTube. Ikayo nga ang curator eh. You can find very good videos with educational value from YouTube. See Sherry Turkle, who talks about being alone together. She's an MIT professor. She has a lot of short videos. So what I do in my classes, I put up videos, short videos. The students appreciate it. They like it kasi we have to accept that the 21st century learner is a visual learner. It's he and she, they are visual learners. We have to get on board. Don't compete. Don't compete with the internet. Don't compete with mobile phones. In fact, in my classes, I ask them to turn on their phones. Siyempre, hindi naman sila nagchat-chat or something. So when we're in the middle of the discussion and I mention this term, sasabihin ko, look for it. Give me a definition. And that's how I teach them to find credible sources of information. So I tell them, ayoko ng Wikipedia, ha? Hanap kayo ng iba. Tapos that's how kasi 21st century learning now, teaching is learning about real life. It's connecting what you learn with your life. That's why I showed you a picture of what EG drew about COVID. So your students are thinking of this very uncertain time. You have a great responsibility to help them process this. Yung how they feel, what they think. They're all locked down. Can you imagine, as a child, lumaki tayo. Ako, when I was young, I would play in the streets. I'm old so I played patintero, tumbang preso, ganyan, taguan. But the children are locked up.
Miss Almond, you're sharing about letting them use the phone. I think is very interesting because a lot of people tell children to stop using it. Stop using this, stop using that.
Yeah.
So actually, you can use it in such a way that you can also teach them how to use it.
Oh, yeah. It's part of 21st century learning is also media literacy. Kasi di ba, parang anything is available online. Pero most of it is trash. So as a teacher, you're a curator of knowledge. You point them to the right direction. It's not anymore telling them what is knowledge. Kasi knowledge is dynamic, I said. It changes. It's also accessible. You teach them how to understand, how to evaluate. O itong website na to, basura to, I'm not gonna pay attention. Teach them, parang kumbaga yung fake news. Kasi many students start sharing, may bomb threat, ganon. So I had to actually sit down with my nephew and tell him that, you're actually helping the terrorists. Kasi what the terrorists want would be for people to be afraid. And ito libre, crowdsourcing, ikaw pang tumutulong kay terrorist. Kasi before you share, di ba, you have to pay attention kung sino yung source. Baka naman galing lang sa classmate mo na galing din sa iba. without ano. So parang don't think that these technologies are your competitors. Remember, tayo yung tao. I'm team human eh. Si Douglas Rushkoff, if you read more of him, you Google him, you look for his short videos, they're very provocative, they're very mind-blowing. He says nga na, yun, part of it is being able to control the technology. Ikaw yung in control kasi 'di ba they question anong mas matalino, the computer or the human. I'm team human. So the reason why I created my presentation in that way is that I'm resisting what the technology is telling me to do. Diba, I actually didn't start with the title slide. QSR created the title slide for me. I didn't. And if you notice, I did something else with my presentation. My presentation is actually, kumbaga parang, the medium is the message. Sabi nga ni Marshall McLuhan, reflect on what I did with my presentation, and that's what you do. The presentation does not have to be inactive. It can be interactive. Diba? I drew I asked you to comment, I asked you to ask questions. These are not usually done in a presentation. Hindi ito bago sa akin. I saw this also done by other people. And I appreciated it. Yung being able to, as an audience member, kasi remember the culture is 21st century. Okay, one last comment or question for a viewer. I think that's it for time. We're pushing it already so you can learn about G Suite. So please remember this. Kayo ang magpo-provide ng curriculum. Hindi si Google ha, not Google. Hindi niyo pwedeng sabihin na, ay may PowerPoint na ako eh. O kaya ipi-PDF ko na lang yung handout ko, yun na yun. It needs to be transformed. Kasi nga 21st century learning. And remember that the tools are out there. You just have to look for them. I'll give you an example. Meron ako na-discover, kakahanap ko ng kung ano-ano for my nephew na para maging interactive. Kasi Khan Academy is a very good resource. There are a lot of e-courses, short e-courses that are already produced by World Bank, UN, ADB on climate change, on clean fuel. These are things that students need to learn. You can integrate them kasi peer-reviewed na sila, magaling na sila kasi subject matter expert sila. UN ba naman? So, parang you can use all these, put them together, and remember chunking, ha? Hindi pwedeng mag-upload ka ng ebook. The entire ebook is 196 pages. The attention span of a human, nako, I have to remember the year where there was a study done by, I think, Time Magazine, if I'm not mistaken. Tao lang naman, nalilimutan ko na. They compared the attention span of the human to the goldfish. Guess what? Mas matagal pa si goldfish by about 2 seconds. I don't remember, parang 6 seconds yata si goldfish, 7 si ano, something like that. Very short. So meaning don't upload 1 hour long videos. Make them short. Very short. Kumbaga bite-sized pieces. That's what e-learning is about. Anyway, anything else, Ms. Rowie, before we hand this off to the next speaker?
I think the mindset lang of the teacher and to embrace what's really happening, since we can't really do face-to-face, the next best thing and the only solution now is really online or using technology. So I think what you shared is really important. How they will use technology to their advantage, no?
Can we end with one slide? It's my favorite quotation, and it's also how I perceive teaching. It's my philosophy of teaching. Camille, can you put up slide 24? So I can't read it very well. The primary source you have as a teacher is yourself, your whole self, mind and spirit and body. And unless you are willing to teach with your whole self, with everything you have, you are not going to teach at all. So you always have to go beyond the material. The material is only your jump off point. Hindi pwedeng yung lahat galing sa libro. Dapat meron kang contribution. In fact, learning involves the contribution and parang collaboration of the teacher and the students. The students also have a burden to carry. According to San Pedro Children's Learning Center, resistance to change, a new normal, is what we must overcome in the 21st century. Yes, absolutely. Diba? Have the courage. Be brave. Kasi teachers kayo. Diba? Parang ako, that's the most honorable next to parenthood is being a teacher. Ako, I don't have kids of my own. My nephews are parang my kids. But I have always had so much admiration, especially for Filipino teachers nako. Anyway, so I guess that's goodbye for now. If you want a little more instruction on, I have a few more free webinars to also conduct. There's another one on the 16th. If QSR and Google won't mind, can you put up slide 25, Camille? It's going to be on Facebook Live. I'll go a little deeper into the concepts. Kasi ito parang patikim lang eh. We want you to think of these things as you go into the G Suite. No, 24. 24. Next. The promotion for it's at the very end. There. So it's a Facebook Live webinar. If you are inclined, please join us. And I'll talk more about it. Parang I'll give you more understanding of these huge concepts and how they can be applied.
Thank you so much for this. We'll share it with the other educators as well. I'm sure those are
please don't give up. Don't give up.
Everyone is really thankful.
Parang we're being called to battle. Tayo naman yung next. Kung yung mga dati the medical workers, tayong next.
Tama ka.
Are the ones.
Tayo na yung next na frontliners. Really.
We're the next frontliners. So this is for the future. Remember, the vaccine is still far away. The cure is far away. I just listened to an interview by a very intelligent doctor, Filipino doctor. Sabi niya, expect this to last a few more, it might be even more than a year. So anyway, and thank you very much for listening in on our webinar. And I hope you continue with this, the next part of the webinar, with this in mind. Yung parang open with this idea na the technology will serve you, ha? You will not serve technology. You will be the one to use technology, hindi baliktad. Thank you, Ms. Rose.
Thank you very much. We'll invite you again for other talks.
Of course.
I think the goal of the educators now is really to share the knowledge. Kasi maraming
I'm a little sad that DepEd was not able to provide the training. Kasi maganda yung policy. The policy is good. Take it upon yourselves to learn. Like I said, go to Google Scholar. And I just don't have time. I'm going to create my own. I'm creating through Google Sites a portfolio where I'm going to have a page for e-learning where I'm going to put all the resources there. That's pero hindi ako ready eh. Give me a little more time. But I'll share because that's what I want to do, is to help. Diba? That's what we should be doing. To help the nation, to help children. Yun. We're taking too much time. Yung next the speaker.
I know your passion and your drive and your energy is so inspiring. Thank you so much. This is something that we all need right now.
I consider teaching a calling. You can ask God. Kasi
He
has me here all the time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ray. Thank you.
Okay, so for our next speaker, Ms. Rowie, are we ready for our next speaker?
Okay, so let me introduce our next speaker, a registered nurse with a background in clinical teaching. Joseph's passion in community building and development through education, health, and sustainable social practices. He has worked with communities in New Delhi and volunteered for exiled Tibetan people in Dharmashala, India. He's an active volunteer and one of the program managers of Love Yourself, Inc., juggling between volunteering for the events team that creates events and activities for the advocates of HIV and AIDS awareness, and managing the Safe Spaces PH program of the organization. Joseph's love for the arts, the outdoors, and is well-traveled. He loves meeting people from different cultures and dreams of owning a sustainable eco-resort and spa in the future while managing his social enterprise. A firm believer in work and life balance, he lives by the mantra, today is the tomorrow you dreamed of yesterday. He has been a Google trainer and consultant for over 5 years and had the privilege of providing hours of training and consulting for schools and organizations across the city and the country. He finished his master's in health social science at the De La Salle University and wants to explore the intersection of health, education, and technology in today's society through research and program development. Let's all welcome Joseph Cadelina.
Hi, Joseph.
Hi
Hello.
everyone.
Joseph.
Hi everyone. Yeah, Camille, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I'd really just want to welcome you for joining us today, and I hope you're okay where you are. Ms. Rowie, thank you again for introducing Joseph as well. We'll see you later. Joseph, are we ready? Are we okay?
Hopefully, yes. we actually,
Okay.
I actually have difficulties with my internet connection. As you know, it's one of those things that we really have to, be patient about this times,
Yes.
no?
And
Um,
actually, before this webinar started, Miss Almond mentioned that technical difficulties and technical issues are actually part of it. Even the best of them,
mhm.
even those with the best internet connections, still have technological issues and struggles. So it's really something normal, and it's something that we would expect every now and then. So would
That
you
is
want me?
actually the reason. Yeah, that is actually the reason why I'm not. My video's turned off because it's taking a lot of bandwidth from my connection right now. So before I get into this chat room or this stream room, um, it was really a struggle. So good thing I turned off my cam, but still you can see my avatar there. It's
Yes.
for me. Yeah. All right.
Okay. Okay. So would you want me to share the slides already? I'll leave the screen to you.
All right. You can leave the screen to me, and I'll be starting with my presentation.
Okay. I'll share the slides. Okay.
Ako na
I'll
lang.
see
Ako
you.
na lang.
Okay. Okay. Sige. I'll see you in a while.
All right. So, good morning, everyone. What a wonderful talk with Miss Almond earlier, no, and Miss Rowie. And thank you, Miss Rowie, for the introduction. So my talk is definitely focused on the technology part, no. Miss Almond prepared you on what it can do and how it can be done. But with my part, we will be showing, or I will be showing you how to use technology as a user. And throughout the whole presentation, we will be sharing different activities that you will participate as well. No? So in the middle of everything, in the middle of the discussion, I might be asking you some questions. We might have some quizzes in the middle, no? So, yun ang gagawin natin for today. All right? Okay, there. So, I hope you can see my screen already. So 21st century learning using G Suite. So as Ms. Almond said earlier, technology should not be ruling you, but technology should be just a part of the solution. And this is what the platform in Google does, no? So it helps us prepare with our distance learning mode of education, our blended learning mode of education. This should be the part of technology. It should make your life easier, especially in times like this. So the agenda for today's talk would be about Google for Education, what it is, and how G Suite is used for distance learning, and of course, the latter part would be our answers and question and answers. No, so you can ask your questions later, or you can chat it at the chat box. But definitely, Camila and I will be checking once in a while when we are doing the activities already. So for the first part, we will be doing a pop quiz. So pop quiz, I would want you to get your phones ready, open your browsers, and prepare for the quiz that I will be showing you. Okay, so I'll just, yes, definitely prices are up for grabs. So may mga premyo po tayo for this one. I'll just share my screen with that tab, no? Go and check on the tab that I have just shared. So right now, I'll be waiting for you to go into www.menti.com. And when you are there, use the code 1897 and 76. And then we will have you guys vying for the first place, no, to get the correct answer for this question. So don't worry, the questions are very easy. You might have encountered it before, but rest assured that it's something that you have already know or you're very familiar with. Okay. So do we have our players right now? Actually, I can see two of you. Ayan, meron tayong 6 players. We'll just wait for a couple of more players to join and then I can run the quiz. Pabilisan to guys ha. So kung sino yung mauuna, talagang siya yung mananalo. Kasi meron tayong leaderboard. And then all throughout the sessions, I'll be running a few more of this quiz. And then we will have a leaderboard. No? So for each question, we will have a winner. So meron tayong 5. Baka meron tayong mga 5 na winners. So Miss Camille will be preparing and will be taking note of your nicknames on the leaderboard, and then we'll be messaging you on who got the prize for this particular question. All right, so we have how many? 16. Ayan, di ba? Learning and winning some prizes from Google. It's exciting kasi may mga prize pang available doon sa QSR. So, na kay Miss Camille yun. Later, ibibigay niya sa inyo. or ipapakita niya kung ano yon. And yeah. So we have 20 participants already. Siguro I can start na rin the quiz para I think 20 is enough. So you guys ready? In 3, 2, 1, I'll be starting the quiz. So prepare your fast fingers to type in the correct answer. Okay? So the faster you answered it, the more points you get. So the first question goes like, a word that is one of the 4 C's of the 21st century learning, that means to work with others to achieve a common goal. So what word is that? Definitely starts with letter C. All right, the correct answer is collaboration. So we will check who the winners are. Ayan. Collaborative, we can accept that, but collaboration is the word here. Okay, so later we will check the leaderboard kung sino nanalo, and then right now I'll be switching to the next slide that I have. All right? Congratulations on the first one. We will announce you later. Okay? Sige. So, yay, prices they can get from Sacred Heart School in Malabon. So from Miss Rowe, you can get the prices from there. Okay, so we're done with the first pop quiz. Now let's move forward with the next one. I mean the next part of our session, no? So later na yung next pop quiz. So most of you have heard about Google for Education. It's definitely a buzzword already for the rest of you guys. Let me just check and turn off my All right, so Google for Education, So I'm back. All right, ito. So we all know that Google for Education is a platform that enables us to use technology in the classroom. And technology, again, as what has been said before, should only be a part of the solution. This is actually one of the words of Sundar Pichai that says that issues in terms of education, technology should be, or technology is deemed as a double-edged sword. And being it as a double-edged sword, it should be part of the solution in terms of providing the platform, providing the content, and providing definitely the technology, the device for enabling technology in education. And in Google, we have different platforms, different applications that is used, and that is encapsulated in one suite, and that is within G Suite for Education. And as you can see here in my slides, G Suite for Education is grouped into the different practical uses. No, so you have here in managing your classrooms, we have Google Classrooms, we have Google Forms. In communicating, we have Gmail, Google Meet, Google Chat. In administering our classrooms or our schools, we have the admin console, the Google Vault. In collaborating, which is for me the buzzword for today, collaboration, includes Google Docs, Sheets, Slides. I'm sure some of you are very familiar. I'm sure some of you might have used them already. We have Jamboard for your interactive whiteboard. You have your Google Drive, Google Sites, and of course, to help manage your task, you have Google Keep and Google Calendar. So these are grouped according to what they're used for, and that is within G Suite for Education. You only have your Gmail or your school domain under Google to be able to use these tools. So, activity time again, 'di ba? Punong-puno ng activity tayo. So, what you will do right now is we'll have a around the world kind of game. What I want you to do is to open a new tab and type this link, bit.ly/around the world with around the world in 5, meaning you would be visiting 5 different places around the world using Google Maps. And when you are there, you look for the first clue by selecting the right map pin to start and enjoy the tour. So when you're there to Google Maps, look for the pin for the correct for the start of the game. It's more like a scavenger hunt thing. It's more like an amazing race, game, but very easy lang siya. So you just have to answer the questions on the link that was provided doon sa pin where you will start. So the first 5 submissions with all the correct answers, again, wins a prize from Google. So bongga tayo ngayon kasi marami tayong premyo with Google. And you will get that at the Sacred Heart School with Miss Roby. Okay, so open a tab, type the link bit.ly/around the world in 5, and start answering the questions there. Okay, so ayan. So hopefully we have people already going into the link. Meron na ba? You can just chat your responses dito sa ating chat box. Ayan. So while you're doing that, I'll be checking kung sino yung nanalo sa ating first question, no? So talagang dinidistract ko kayo. We actually have, wow, mamaya papakita ko to. Who has the fastest fingers to type all the answers kanina? Okay, so there. So while you're at it, I might be playing some some songs, no?
Okay, so I hope a lot of us are in the link already, and we are starting to answer some of the tips or questions here in Around the World. So this is actually a very fun activity, and you just have to go to the starting point first before we move on to some of the other questions that you can get to answer. So yeah, we hope you enjoy this activity, because this is actually one of the tools that teachers could use to make their lessons more interactive, especially if you teach history or geography and the like. You can use this tool actually. So yeah, we'll leave you. We'll give you about 5 more minutes or 3 more minutes to answer this. It's a really fun activity, and we hope you get to use this tool as well in your classes. We'll see you in 3 more minutes.
All right, so right now we have our winner. The fastest one who got the first answer and correctly answered it is Miss Tanya, who have 827 points for the first question. So ayan, mag-accumulate pa yan. Pero, yeah, so that's our first winner for the first question. We will be getting the first winners lang, or the winners lang, the fastest one, for the rest of the questions later. Okay, so congratulations, Miss Tanya. Later, we will be chatting you and getting your contact details for your prize. Okay, guys, we're back, no, with the activity. So, mamaya natin titingnan yung mga winners ng Around the World in 5 game natin. Take note, there are 5 of you who will be winning. So, kung sino yung first 5 who got the answers correct to the questions at hindi naligaw doon sa ating world tour, di ba? May world tour pa tayo. Yeah, we will be checking that later. Now, let's proceed with the use of G Suite for distance learning. Remember the collaborative tools that we have in Google? The collaborative tools enables you to what? 3 things, no? Create interactive slides and documents, and leverage hyperlinks and media content. And of course, you can vary the content and modality of these activities. So with your tools available on hand, with your accounts in Gmail and in your domains, with the resources that's available that will be shared to us and that you will discover yourself, you will have all the creative spirit, all the creative juices flowing to make your activities, to make your lessons interactive using the tools. No? So alam ko naman that most of us teachers would really find time to gagawin at iisipan talaga natin ng paraan how we can make our classes interactive, our students engaged. No? Gone are the days of we as teachers being able to discuss all the things lang by ourselves But distance learning, blended learning should always be moving in the spirit of empowering the students to have their own agency and participation in the class, to have their own voices heard. So magagawa natin yan with all the activities that we will facilitate with them, for them, diba? Now, if you're familiar with Google Docs, in Google Docs you can actually create a lot of activities that makes it more engaging to students and makes it more it makes it catchy to them. Because even before, remember the classroom sessions that we have, you have to catch their attention in around how many minutes. What now, kaya ngayon na we're using technology, we're using the internet, and you're not with them physically, you're just with them virtually. So the less time that you have to catch their attention, the better. Diba? The less time that you engage them and have them immersed in the sessions by doing all these creative activities, then the better. All right? Okay, so before we move on to the next pop quiz, let's just proceed with the slides. No, um, with Google Classroom, it's one of the applications that's under um, the G Suite tools that you have. It actually enables us to learn more and apply the blended learning, the distance learning modalities that we have that we have learned, that we have to do for in the times like this. No, in Google Classroom we can have creative assignments, we can leverage the tools that's available, and you can communicate with them personally. You can have the students publish their slide decks, that enables them to be creative, and a lot of other things that you can do with Google Classroom. And it's not just stopping with the students, but it also can be used for the staff as well. It is also in Google Classroom that enables you to have a project-based learning in the classroom. No, most of the time, problem solving ang ginagawa natin with this one, student-led learning, and it gives you the flexibility to be creative, to be either grouping them in small groups or in larger ones, and infuse that collaborative spirit. And in project-based learning, you can set up your assignments so that you can have differentiated activities for each goal, for each group. Different student groups, different activities, but arriving at the same goal. This also gives them the choice, the voice, and the learning experience that they would really, that would really part of their lives, increase their engagement, and increase the buy-in for struggling students. Because in groups like that, they would really have to work amongst themselves to come up with the best solution, to come up with the right answers for a particular problem. So that's project-based learning done in Google Classroom. Okay, so we will have pop quiz 2 after this one, and we will be going on with the activities that I prepared for you in Google Classroom. All right, so all of those slide decks that we have, of all of those hyper docs that you can do in Google Docs, I'll be pushing that through Google Classroom. Okay, but before that, we will do the pop quiz, and we'll be selecting the next winner based on the first and the fastest who answered the question. Okay? Okay, mukhang naubusan tayo ng time when I run the quiz. But yeah, siguro later, let's continue with the rest of the discussion, and then we'll have more of that pop quiz. Remember to open Menti already doon sa inyong mga browsers para you'll be, ano lang, you don't have to spend the rest of the time opening another tab and moving on and typing all those codes, no? So, yeah. Sayang walang nakapasok doon sa ating second question, but definitely later we still have a lot of those questions. So ang ginawa ko is I inserted those quizzes in the middle of our ano para lang magising yung mga mabuhay yung mga natutulog nating mga kaluluwa. Okay, so I'll be sharing another tab, and this will be for us to continue with our session. Now, we have the collaborative tools already. We have Google Classroom for us to enable project-based learning. And of course, we also have what? Communication tools that's available for us. And primarily what we're using are the tools called Google Meet and Google Chat. No, if you're under Google for Education, you are able to use Google Meet, and you can have as many as 250 participants within the live stream under your domain. And then you can record that directly to your Google Drive. Another feature of Google Meet is that you can admit participants. Parang meron siyang screening room before you let people in. So that's the reason why, in terms of security, number one talaga si Google Meet. Kasi you have that functionality. And then, of course, you have your place for learning, asynchronous learning. And Google Sites enables you to, create a portal for education, to create a curated resource website for your students. You can even create your own Google Classroom or classroom there, like a dump and a curated. You can even create it as parang a learning management system, parang progressive activities based on what the students would need to do when they're using Google Sites. And of course, you can bring in the community to visit that. You can bring in the whole class to visit that. You can bring in the parents of the class or the guardians to visit your Google Sites so that they will also have an idea what the students are learning and what they are doing in the classroom. But with Google Classroom kasi, if your school is under Google Classroom, we all have everything there. So that's an exciting thing that we have to be learning later. Now, we will do the next quiz later. We'll just finish some of the most important topics here right now. We have Google Forms. Forms definitely used for creating quizzes and personalized communication in terms of surveys, in terms of collecting data from your students. So you can create Google Form to check in students' well-being. You can just send a form and ask them how they are doing. You can ask them to fill out their daily activities, a record of their daily diaries. You can also set them with, of course, the basic use na ginagamit natin with the classroom as a quiz tool. And automatically, you can use it to grade them immediately kapag natapos nila yung quiz. The grades are already there. It can be imported to Google Classroom. Yeah, there are definitely a lot of things that you can do with Google. And of course, you can time them with different extensions and add-ons under Google Forms. You have Timify Me, you have Form Limiter to limit, to discourage them from cheating, to discourage them from, going through other resources when they're answering the quizzes. With Google Drive, you can have offline access as well. So when you say offline, even if you're not connected with the internet, you'll still be able to work. You'll still be able to move and work with your assignments, work with your documents. And then the next time that you get connected, it will automatically sync. No, you don't need to save it. You don't need to, because in Google, we know naman na wala siyang save button. So the best thing in terms of problems like internet connectivity, if you turned your Google Drive for offline access, then you can definitely do that. You can view your content while offline and even create new content that will be uploaded when you regain access. So like the issues that we have been facing, yung problems ng connectivity. So it's the best practice for us to really turn on our offline access in Google Drive. Okay, so right now, I would be inviting you to join my class in Google Classroom. And then I'll be pushing some announcements there and answering some of the questions that we have as well. So what you need to do is to open your own classrooms. And I also need to remind you that this classroom is under gmail.com. So if you are using your domain email to access Google Classroom, might as well switch to your personal Gmail if you have. If you don't, might as siguro skip muna this activity. But definitely, hopefully, meron kayong Gmail email para maka-join kayo sa classes. So this is one thing that you have to remember, that in using Classroom, in Google Classroom, you need to have your domain. You have to be under a particular school domain para makagamit ka nun. Or if you don't, you can just use your personal Gmail and ask the students to create their own personal Gmail para makagamit sila and ma-enroll sila doon sa Google Classroom na gagawin natin. So for you to open Classroom, this is the instruction. Type classroom.google.com when you open another tab, or when you are already in your Gmail, or when you are already in your Google Drive interface, you can always look for the waffle button that's seen in the upper right corner of your screens, no, next to your account names. So makikita mo doon yung waffle button. Para siyang grid. It definitely looks like a waffle. So hindi mo siya makakaligtaan kung ano siya. And then when you click that, it will open a bunch of tools, a bunch of icons, and look for Google Classroom there. Now, when you are there already, you can just click the plus sign and select join a class. And the class code that you will be joining would be, I will be dictating. This is 4D7VBWO. Okay, so I'll also be typing this in our chat. So there are two ways now to join Classroom. Either you ask the students to join via the class code, or you ask them, or you have them enrolled already and send an invite to join your class. Okay? So that's the one that you can see on screen is the class code. Ayan, so that's 4D7VBWO. So I'll be expecting you to join the class that I have. I'll be stopping my my screen, and then I'll switch to the classroom. But definitely the code or the class code is flashed on the screen, okay? So right now, what I'm doing is to share my Google Classroom. And here, I should be seeing students already. Okay, very good. So I'll be sharing my classroom, my screen with that classroom para makita nyo kung andun na yung mga students natin. So here, we have the following students already inside our Google Classroom. We have Joselina, Cecilia, Karen, and Renilyn. So they might be, of course, they're using their own Gmail accounts to enter. And dumadami na po tayo, guys. Si Miss Tanya, I think siya yung nanalo kanina. Hello po. Okay, we have from Higher Ground Baptist School. We also have Richelle. Ayan. So habang dumadami, so this is our interface for Google Classroom, no? When you enter Google Classroom, you'll be led to your homepage. Now, these are examples of the classes that I am enrolled in and I'm invited to, and I have created as well. So ito yung class na ginawa ko for today. We have 10 students for now. And then when you enter that classroom, that Google Classroom, we have this plus button. Ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo. And this is the waffle or the Google Apps icon that enables you to select and switch between different apps. Now, as a student, of course, you will be asked to join a class. But if you're a teacher using this account, you can actually create your own classes as well. No? So when you join a class, again, you need to download or you need to input the code that we have and then click join. Now, so you're already in the classroom. I'll be, describing and telling you things that you can do with it. In Google Classroom, we have this hamburger button, which enables you to open on the left side your home button for the classes, your Google Calendar, your to-do list for the different sections that you are enrolled with, and a to-do list as a teacher. And then below that is a to-do list for you as a student if you are enrolled to some of the classes. Now, in the settings button, you enable the notifications. So by default, all of the notification options are turned on. So this radio button, you can just turn it off and on at your own discretion. Okay? So now we'll go back to our class. Now, in Google Classroom, as a teacher, this is a teacher view. You will see 4 tabs or 4 sections in the interface. You'll have here a description of your class, of the title of your class, the class code, and a customizable theme or photo. So when you select theme, you can actually choose one that fits your section or your class that you're handling. So for now, let's be using this one since this is technology based. And then you can change that. You can actually upload your own photo as well. No? Just make sure that you have your photos ready in your Drive or in your Google, in your computer or in your Google Drive. Now we have here a section that lists down the work that should be uploaded or the work that should be done if they have due dates. We have here your class updates. This is where you will post announcements. And for you to communicate, you have here a list of the activities that you need to do. So this is under our stream view. This works like your typical social media timeline. So John, when you post something, when you push an assignment, dito makikita sa stream view. Now, the next section includes the classwork. Classwork means all of the activities that you have prepared is done here. As you can see, I've listed the activities by topic already. So meron yang Google Slides activity, you have your Google Forms as a quiz, and then your Google Docs. Then you have a shortcut to your Google Calendar, and then a shortcut button to your Google Drive. Then when you click Create, remember the plus sign, guys. It's everywhere in every Google application. When you click the plus, then that enables you to create something. And when you create the plus button here, it enables you to create your assignments, quizzes, question materials, or even reuse an old post that you have. Because most of the time, when darating yung panahon na you'll be using the same classroom for the next school year. So you should establish a policy that enables you to reuse them and then tweak it lang according to the best way that you can, you know. So there, as you can see also, all the activities that I have is saved as a draft. I prepared this last night and saved this as a draft. So hindi ko pa pinopost, hindi pa natin makikita sa stream view. But then you can always rename them, delete copy, and then move it up and down according to the order that you want. And when we go to people view, we have, of course, the teachers and the students. So right now, meron na tayong madami-daming students. You can arrange them by last name or first name, no? And if you want co-teachers to be with you in your class, you can just add them here and invite them through their email. Remember, if you are using a Gmail account, you can only invite another Gmail account to use that classroom. The same thing with your students. So for those who are not yet using their own domain for their school, QSR is happy to assist you with applying for your own domain and deploying the Google platform in your school. So I believe our lines are open for that. No, so the way that I invited you to the class was through a class code. And then another way of doing that would be definitely done by the teacher is through clicking the invite students button, and then you will just type in all the email addresses or copy paste the email addresses from the class list of your students here. Now, and then that will send an invitation. The students will receive an email, and then they would be asked to join the class. In some way, a managed Google account under Google for Education also enables you to add your guardians or the parents of the students. So somewhere in between here, meron yang invite button for the guardians. So what's the importance of inviting guardians? You can actually set it with Google Classroom that you can send email summaries for the guardians on what the students have been doing in the class for the week, you know, and then the guardians have the discretion to receive it on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. No? So once you invite them, mamimili sila kung anong gusto nilang ma-receive every week ba or every day ba ng mga updates regarding their child's or their ward's activities sa school. So yun yung beauty naman ng managed domain or managed Google Classroom under the domain of your school. Pero hindi natin makikita dito because this is just the typical and the free Gmail account. You know? Now, the grade section definitely lists down all the assignments that you have pushed and you have prepared and graded. Tapos automatic na lang magko-compute and you can just download them as a CSV file or as an Excel file or as a Google Sheet file. Okay? Now, for us to be more interactive again, our students here, for those who are able to join in, I'll be pushing some of the activities that I have prepared. No? So for Google Docs, we will be discussing lang the, some tips that you can do with Google Docs. And I'll be editing this one. If I am the teacher and I'll be posting an assignment, what I'll do is I'll just click classwork. I'll just click create, click assignment. Now, for the one that I'll be pushing, ang ginamit ko dyan is I'll be pushing a material, meaning a material is anything that the students would be using as a reference. No, you can upload here your readings, you can upload here your text materials, videos, or links. So what I did was to to really use this one as using HyperDocs Document 101 as a guide for us to be more creative with our lessons, no? So once you have everything created, you can push for it to the different sections or the classes that you handled, no? So you have the option kung pang for our class lang ba or for all the classes that we handled already. So this is best practice for a teacher who's teaching multiple classes with the same subject, no? Tapos same lang sila ng content for that, same lang sila ng reference material, then you can just click them here. And then when you post it, when you select all the students, sila lahat ang makaka-receive ng material na yon. Now, in terms of topics, you can actually create your own topics to organize and categorize your lessons. So ito talaga yung classwork talaga, yung part where the teachers have to really prepare and organize the lessons based on the curriculum or based on the syllabus that you have or the lesson plan that you have. Dun mo siya gagawin and dun mo siya i-organize. So for this one, I'll just be posting it immediately kasi last night I saved it as a draft. Or you can also do what? You can also do schedule it for a later time. So automatic, kapag na-schedule mo na siya, mag-post na lang siya, then the students will be receiving the notification, and then they would be perfect for what? Asynchronous pushing of assignments, asynchronous pushing of activities in Google Classroom. Okay, so what I'll do is just post this one. You should be receiving it. Check your stream view or check your email para makita mo yung copy ng ating Google Docs. And it talks about what? It talks about HyperDocs and what you can do with engaging your students, exploring the experience of HyperDocs, and of course, having them to explain or having you to explain the things that they need to do. No? So that is actually a tip that I gave you. You can use this material. You can use that material on your own. Explore that. This adapted from one of the creators or content creators, Miss Lisa Highfill, no? Gumawa siya ng material na yan for us educators to, be inspired and reuse it on our own. So when you're there, I can see faces already in the document. I'll be sharing the slide where we all can see para dun sa mga participants na who are not able to join our classes. So I've just shared a document that is all about HyperDocs 101, and we only need to use what? Google Document for this, or Google Docs for this. So here. So this is our Google Docs or HyperDocs. Why is it called HyperDocs? Para kasi siyang document na sobrang ligalig, diba? Sobrang hyper niya. You have different ways to create it. No? With the power of Google Docs naman, you can actually insert, you can actually put pictures coming from the web or your own. You can link things, link lessons, and organize it according to what you want. No? So from here, kung iisipin mo siya, it's a document that has different links to different places. Para mo siyang gateway to other things, no? So that's our HyperDocs. Here, like for the links here, you can actually have a preview of them when you hover your mouse doon sa link document within that document, no? So you can have them previewed, magbubukas siya dito sa baba. And then when you're the one opening it, parang from this thumbnail pa lang, you will also be, searching from the stuff already without leaving the document. So, diba? So that's the idea. Without leaving the document, you are able to create and infuse all the activities and your lessons in one document alone. So that's the beauty of so this link here, creating or explaining what HyperDocs is all about. We don't have the time to do that, but I've given you the link. I've given you this deck already, this document. You can explore it on your own. Again, the beauty of us joining in this stream, video streaming, is that it enables us to have more resources. So yeah, this is one of those resources. Andyan na yung explanation ng mga release, but definitely you can use them on your own. Meron din tayong mga examples dyan, like this one. This is an example of a HyperDoc activity. So when I open a preview, it changes to the next link that I've chosen. Ayan. So this definitely explains what HyperDocs are and what they are not, no? So they are not actually just a Google Doc with links, but they are carefully crafted digital lesson plans that require you to have a mindset of thoughtful pedagogy. So your act of instruction, your act of teaching the students, dito mo gagawin. Mga bagay-bagay, mga lessons and mga activities na kailangang pag-iisipan. And of course, nakita mo naman sa example natin, they are visually engaging and packaged according to a particular set of learning outcomes, no? So we have our lesson plans already, and then might as well chunk your outcomes based on a Google Docs document that you will be creating. And this is how students use technology to create, collaborate, think critically, and connect with each other. So pasok na pasok yung 21st century skills natin. Communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. And they are not new app or web tools kasi these things are already existing before. Google Slides naka-embed dito sa isang Google document. Can you imagine that instead of them opening multiple tabs within this document alone, you have all these things. Okay? So that's Google Docs for you, or HyperDocs for you. Now I'll be pushing another assignment which enables us to what? Simulate answering quizzes, no? So kunyari magsasagot tayo ng mga quizzes. So typically, diba, in a typical classroom scenario, you will have your discussion, then after that discussion, the next meeting, you will ask the students na meron kayong quiz. So of course, mag-study sila. Now, another tip, you can use HyperDocs as a study guide for students. You can insert there all the links, all the readings, all the materials that you have. And then, sila nang bahala doon. Student-led learning ang gagamitin natin. Okay, so go back to your classroom. I'll be pushing another one. That would be about, ano naman. I'll go back to my classwork. Ayan, so here, we're back in our classroom. We have our Google Docs already, and you can see that meron na tayong comment. Ayan, see, Higher Ground Baptist. Thank you. Thank you. So from here pa lang, you can also communicate with them, no? So that's it for our Google Docs. Now, I'll be pushing a quiz for this one. So hopefully, you can answer the quiz. Actually, the questions are very easy. It's a quiz on pop culture and a quiz that enables you to learn more about what Google Forms are. Okay, so I'll open this one and click the three dot button here, click edit, and then I'll be assigning it now. So same thing, you have additional lang dito is the points. Kasi kanina, you have, wala to kasi material lang siya. So you don't grade that. But then you can add your points, or the points is already embedded in your Google quiz. You can have your due date. And then this due date would appear doon sa upcoming activities, doon sa home button natin. And then you can add the rubric for your, now rubrics naman, for a quiz like this, usually for multiple choice quizzes, ganyan, long quizzes, usually we don't do rubrics na. But rubrics can be added as well if you are pushing for an assignment that needs rubric for grading. Okay? Sige, I'll assign it already, and then for those who are in the class, you should be seeing it on your stream view. All right, let's check. Now, when I push an assignment on the classwork, makikita natin dito sa interface ng assignment if you have assigned it already to how many students, and then you will also have an idea of which students have turned in already the assignment. Okay, so for this one, all the students need to do is to just click the link for the quiz. So, ito mga students ko, please answer the let's see kung na-open nyo ba yung link na pinush ko through Google Classroom. Ayan, you can answer me through the chat that we have. Nabuksan niyo po ba? Okay. So yan na makikita natin with when you push an assignment for your students. And this particular example is for us pushing an assignment as a quiz, no? And I've prepared that quiz already beforehand. And what I did was just pulled it out doon sa aking Google Drive. So that's what the same thing that we will do, no? Mag-prepare tayo ng quizzes natin beforehand and then organize it accordingly doon sa ating classwork. Now, when the students are done, you can just turn it in, go back to their view, and then click turn in doon sa nilang interface. Now, when a student has turned in that particular assignment, pwede din niyang makikita ng teacher dito kung ilan na, and pwede rin niyang i-grade ito. Okay? So for now, let's just leave that, and then we'll push to the next one, to the next assignment that I have. Another activity that I prepared for you guys, actually we have one who turned in already. We have Camille. And then if ever that Camille, you've graded all the quiz for Camille, you can input the grade here on the side. Kung anong nakuha ng quiz or anong nakuha ng score dun sa quiz, you can also put it here. Okay? Yeah. Kunwari, perfect siya, 100. And then after that, when you graded that student already, you can return them. Meaning, you tell or you send the students the grade. So, isasend mo sa kanya yung grade niya. And then, you can add your comment, congratulations. Personalized comments to the student. Privately ito. Siya lang makakabasa. Okay? And then click return. So Camille would be able to see in her email na meron na siyang naka-perfect siya sa kanyang exam. And then, mag-grade out na siya. Andito na siya sa part na graded student. So for the rest of the students na wala pa, then you just have to wait for them to turn in their lessons or their quizzes. Now, I'll be pushing another one. This enables us to create an assignment naman that is individualized, no? So I'll be editing. Now, what I did with this one is actually prepared a choose your own adventure type of session. This is perfect for student creativity, practicing their creativity in writing, no? In literature, for example. And for this one, I've pushed this in a way that student permission is only for them to view the file. Kasi in activities like creative writing, choose your own adventure is ano eh, parang they will decide on how the story would go. So you will give your instructions there, depend if you want to do it on a Google Docs or on a Google Slides or whatever platform you want them to prepare their assignments. Now, bakit student can view lang the file? Because when they click this one, this is actually already an interactive slides, no? So when you click read the story, it would lead you to the next part of the story. So when I click present, ayan. Ay, wait lang, hindi ko pa pala na-push. Nakalimutan kong i-push yung ano. In-edit ko lang pero hindi ko pa na-push. I'll push it muna para you also have a copy, okay? But then your permission is just student can view the file and then I'll click assign. So you will receive a view-only copy of The Secret Village, a choose-your-own-adventure story creation. So, depende sa mood mo anong pipiliin mong option. Para you have the parang creativity for that particular activity. So again, this is creative writing. You just need to have the student write their own and decide for their own activity. So in this example, we have the Secret Village. We have a child who saw something doon sa kanyang attic, doon sa bahay nila. And then, based from there, doon magsisimula yung kanyang adventure. Doon sa steps na gagawin niya, doon sa decisions na gagawin niya with that particular activity, no? So, for example, ang instructions mo lang sa kanila is to give them, have them follow the prompts doon sa Google Slides and then jump off from there kung saan sila mag-i-end and then continue the story in their own. So, definitely, that helps them exercise their creative juices. No? So, here. So, these are the slides. I've actually prepared it. Now, the slides is actually interactive now. So, when they click present, it will be led to the plot of the story. So, once upon a time, there was a girl called Maggie. And then Maggie, explore the parents' room. A dust in the room was rampant. Suddenly, she looked to her left and saw a map. Now, when she looked to the map, the decision is there. The decision point is there. Do you want Maggie to walk to it or ignore it? So when you want Maggie to walk to it, so pupuntahan niya yung map. She asks this question: what does this map lead to? So, yan. explore the map, throw the map in the bin. When we throw the map in the bin, she ran downstairs and sat on the rotten sofa trying to forget what she saw. So, from this point, you'll also have the question if Maggie wants to go back upstairs to get the map or continue on with the story on their own. So this is actually our endpoint for the jump of point, their own narratives for this story. So if she selected walk to it, ito naman mangyayari sa kanya. If she explored the map, then this would be led to the slide that asks Maggie or explores Maggie to be preparing all the adventure items that she will be needing. She took one look at her map and decided she was going on an adventure. The map said to go to the forest next to her house, so she do what the map said or do the opposite of the map or what the map said. So if gagawin niya yung instructions from the map, then it will be led to the other, or this would be your jump of point already. So students can creatively infuse their own ideas on what the adventure for Maggie is based on the plot that she found a map. Okay, so that is an example of an activity that you can do with students having their own agency and having their own, voice, their own participation. So a great way to exercise their creativity. If you want to do it in a group format, you can do it as a collaborative storytelling for them. And then after that, kapag nabuo na nila, when you set your deadlines, you have them present the story in the class. So yeah, I find it really amazing kasi for students na they are graded based on how they formed and composed the narrative, the story creatively and based on a given set of rubrics that you have, then it would really engage them. It would really stimulate them and work amongst themselves, diba? So that is an example. Now for this one, when they're done already, they can again turn it in and then you can grade them. Okay, so that's what you can do with assignments portion in Google Slides. All right. I'm not sure if we still have enough time, but we are, of course, ready for another pop quiz, yeah? So guys, are you ready for another pop quiz? Okay, so go back to Menti. Go back to menti.com and then go, our code is there, 809776, and then I'll be flashing the next set of questions. Okay, so I'll just stop sharing first muna. Baka makita niyo yung question ko. And then I'll be waiting for you to get into the menti.com para you'll be able to answer the question. That combines online interaction and traditional classroom methods. No? So that's blended learning for you guys. And our winner, our leaderboard winner is again, sino kaya to? Fastest. We have, ayan, so leaderboard siya. So at the end of the quizzes that we have, pipili natin yung top 4 or 5. Okay, so we have leading pa rin si Miss Tanya. We have Cecilia, St. Elmo, ayan. The rest, hindi nakapag-vote. 0. Okay? So, let's move on to our discussion. All right. So leaderboard winner pa rin natin si Miss Tanya. Okay. So Miss Tanya, congratulations. And then after that, we will be selecting those naman na second place, third, and fourth, and fifth. Okay? Kasi we still have other set of questions. Siguro we'll push for the next question kung carry lang. I'll be prepare your prepare your menti.com. I'll be pushing for the next question, and then let's proceed to the question and answer portion in our session. And go to menti.com and then type in 1897 and 76 as your code, and then start to answer the question that I'll be flashing on the screen right now. Gusto natin na marami kayong winners, so bongga yan. Okay, we have this next set of question. Check nyo na lang your tabs. I'll be sharing my screen. So the question goes like, these are powerful yet simple devices that's either a laptop or a tablet made by Google that is running on Chrome OS. So what is this? The correct answer is Chromebook. So may dalawang nakapasok. May dalawang nakapasok. Pero we don't know kung sino yon. Let's check the leaderboard kanina or mamaya. So right now, I'll be sharing my screen, and then let's proceed to our Q&A na. So this is the time where I can answer your questions. I'll check on the chat box kapag meron tayong mga questions. And if we have questions already, type in it. Let's proceed to the chat box kung meron tayong mga questions. Guys, again, QSR is here and willing to help you with the activities, no? Deployment, if you need help with the for your school to be Google empowered, ganyan. All right, so any question, guys? Pwede kayo mag-type ng question dito sa if you need help with anything, if you need a copy of the slides, just let us know. So for that, siguro before we end, we'll be checking the next. We'll check the leaderboard na lang kung sino winners. For this one, yung mga participants natin, we actually have the following participants who has their points available. So Miss Camille, these are our winners. Ito na sila yung mga nanalo sa ating leaderboard. So instead of completing all the questions, since we don't have enough time, mga tatlo lang siguro yung questions na tapos natin. But it shows na consistently the following people the following people were our clear-cut winners, no? So siguro let's give the others a chance na lang to, win a prize na rin, especially for participating in our quiz. So we have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 participants in our pop quizzes. We have Tanya on the top place. We have Cecilia. We have Car. We have Remaniel, Watson, Renz, Aziz, Vote Goat, Eds, and Roddy. Okay, so si Tanya yung winner natin, top 1. And then the rest of those I've mentioned naman yung susunod sa kanya. I guess we have enough prizes for everyone who joined in our pop quiz activities. So we have those winners. Congratulations. If you don't have any questions, you can always contact QSR. You can always contact me as well for your questions. For trainings and deployment, QSR is there. So kapag may time ako, baka I'll be one of those trainers then, and we'll be doing more of the activities and giving you tips on, how to engage your students, no? Kasi marami tayong actually pwedeng gawin with those one, with each of the applications na pwede natin gamitin. Okay, so nandun yung activities, nandun yung mga content natin. It's just a matter of you experiencing it para pag-isipan nyo rin kung pwede nyo gawin with your students. Kasi again guys, technology is there. It's supposed to be a part of the solution. And wag tayo magpapakaalipin sa technology. Okay? It's not something like upload mo lang lahat ng mga materials mo on your classroom and then you're done. You really have to make it a point na your students are engaged, your students are participating, and they would be enabled to have those 21st century skills in their learning. So if you assist us with getting G Suite, how much would it cost? So no charge po ang pag-assist ng QSR to register you to G Suite. Okay, so yung Miss Mina answered from QSR as well. Walang bayad po ang pag-assist ng QSR for you to register. Okay? So you can always contact them, contact us QSR. How about training teachers to become Google Certified Educator? So yes, tama si Miss Mina, with trainings we can do negotiate with QSR on the cost of the mind you, the guys at QSR, I've been working with them for the past 5-6 years. They've been very nice to me and been very helpful in helping other schools as well. So it's great that you guys are on this webinar para you'll be introduced to the technologies available and what you can do with it. So there's a question, do you suggest uploading videos in our drive instead of YouTube or our classes? Advantages and disadvantages. If you have your domain already, if you have if your school is under Google already and you have been provisioned and deployed with the apps, I would suggest na you can use Google, you can use, what do you call this one? You can use YouTube and then have the videos not public, meaning yung mga video na i-upload nyo sa YouTube ay hindi magiging public, meaning those who will be given the links lang or those who will be under your domain lang ang makaka-access ng videos na yon. Now, advantage nun, nasa cloud na yung video mo, it's on YouTube, it's always accessible. Disadvantage nun, if you set it on the admin na actually mas better siya, and then you set it as a video na parang unlisted video, hindi siya ma-access ng iba. Kung sino lang binibigyan mo na under ng domain ninyo ang pwedeng mag-access nun. If you save it in Google Drive with your domain as well under your school, you can always control it na hindi siya pwedeng ma-share ng iba outside of your domain. But if you are just using Gmail, we will have parang disadvantage na pwede siyang i-download, pwede din siyang ma-share na ibang students sa sa kanilang mga friends or sa kanilang networks. So yun naman ang difference ng dalawa. But depende sa inyo kung anong gusto niyang gamitin. Just make sure that securities and you're following privacy, data privacy protocols when you do that. Correct. Yes, Miss Josie. You can always do that with G Suite and Google Drive. So when you record your sessions in Google Meet, you record it in Google Meet, and then it will save naman automatically doon sa Google Drive ninyo. And then just share that to your students. And then set the sharing permissions, those na under lang ng domain ninyo. Yes, the trainings are online. More pop quiz. Oh, actually, may dalawa tayong questions, hindi nasama, but yeah, definitely. You can always also do the same, no, with your students. So, ang gusto ko kasing ginagawa ko with my trainings, I present them certain best practices, tapos ginagawa namin, and then, teachers might be using that activity as well for their own. So, yeah, hopefully may natutunan kayong something from me. We might not have been going through the details of the applications, but definitely the resources are available online. Again, guys, the resources are available online. YouTube, you have your teacher center, you have your search mo lang Google for Education, and you would be open to a plethora of resources. Okay?
Okay.
Sige.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much,
much.
Sir Joseph, for your time and for always saying yes to QSR, no, to all of our requests.
It's my
Yeah,
pleasure.
thank you so much. Now to close our webinar, may we call on Miss Josie Cartagena of the Private Schools of Mandaluyong City. Hi, Miss Josie.
Hi, Camille. Yeah, you. But we're not from Mandaluyong. We're from Malabon.
I'm sorry, Malabon. I'm so sorry. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, it's okay. So today was a very productive day for all of us, especially the school administrators, and I'm sure the teachers. What we learned in this webinar will be very useful for us, especially that we only have less than 1 month to go before the school opening. We cannot thank you enough, Dr. Almond Aguila, for the inspiring message. To Yosef Cadelina for the technical knowledge that we can use to do our synchronous and asynchronous learning. For Ms. Camille Cabatu and of course Ms. Rowie Mati for facilitating this webinar and making all this possible. We hope there will be a second time. And for our teachers and administrators, let us all be inspired and move on and enjoy preparing for our lessons. Let us not be bothered, just what they said, with technology. But of course, we have to know what to use. And Google is just there waiting for us. It's free, wala tayong gagastusin. And thank you so much, everyone.
Again, thank you so much, Miss Josie from the Private Schools of Malabon. Okay, now I think Miss Rowie would also want to say a few words. Thank you again, Miss Josie. Hi, Miss Rowie.
Hi. You have my slides, Camille.
No, ma'am. Wait, let me check.
So thank you, co-administrators, for listening today. Ms. Josie is asking for more seminars later on. I was fortunate to attend the first Google training in 2015 at the De La Salle University. And I was chosen as one of the Google Educators Group Leader for the Philippines. So from 2015, we were already attending trainings on Google Apps, Google Classroom, Google Suite. And the training that we learned there, we shared it with teachers all over the Philippines. So as early as 2015. But even if we've been training a lot of teachers, um, people are still going back to the traditional way of teaching. That's why online learning and online teaching was not pushed, no, until COVID happened. So now, the training that we had, we were able to come up with Galileo Go Learning. It's an online learning that teaches math and English. So so what we're doing now is we started offering that last April. So we have students all over the Philippines. We have more than 20 branches of Galileo all over the Philippines. So for those who are interested, classes are already going on as early as April. So for those who are not offering anything yet in their schools, you can contact us. We can help you set it up in your schools. And for students, they can enroll as early as now to prepare them for online learning when classes start on August. So there. So Miss Camille, the is not there yet. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much. Miss Josie will arrange another one soon. Just let us know what topics the educators and the Malabon administrators will need soon. Naka-silent po yan.
Sorry. Thank you, Miss Rowie. We will get in touch with you again. And this is so much help for all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So I believe this is where our webinar ends. Again, thank you for all of our speakers and to all of our representatives, especially to the private schools and private school teachers of Malabon City. Thank you again, Ms. Rowie and Ms. Josie, for joining us today as well. Thank you. We'll see you again next time. Bye.
Thank you.